It's a beautiful, chill vibe, this one, just relaxing and travelling through space. The very true, literal definition of space trucking. Yes, Star Trucker is available. It's available right now, actually. It was released today. And for those of you out there who love hauling, then you could do a lot worse than checking this game out. So what we're going to look at here is what I experienced during the first hour or so of the game. And, it was enough to really hook me in. And I want to spend a lot more time in the game. So if we look at other games within the genre, whether it's Elite Dangerous or, the X series, one thing that is pretty common is a trade-in and shipping goods from A to B. It's something that's so integrated into Elite, in fact, that you get players dedicated to hauling, space trucking. Star Trekker then has taken that very literally and run with the whole concept, and it really nailed the whole thing down, and yet that even extends to the visual aesthetics. Some of you will likely find this perhaps a little bit goofy, I don't know, but yeah, look, we've got these big rigs here, the big rigs flying through space. It takes a certain taste to appreciate this, but I think they've made the very smart move with this. It's, you look at it and you know exactly what you're going to get. So that idea is pretty simple. You pick up cargo from point A and ship it to point B. These can be relatively short journeys, or they can be longer journeys across various sectors of space. Cargo comes in different varieties and sizes. Some of it is very fragile, some of it less so. Whatever your cargo though, you'll pick it up from the job screen at stations or sometimes over your CB radio as special requests. Hauling itself is a very pleasant experience. The flight system here is somewhat of a blend between spaceship flight and driving a big rig. So yeah, imagine you've got Euro Truck Simulator 2. They've taken the rig and put it into space and put engines on it and given it a little bit of Newtonian physics and a little bit of null gravity, and you'll get a bit of a feel, a bit of an understanding for what exactly this may look like. Now, space itself is broken down into sectors. You can see these on the galaxy map, and each different area is somewhat different. They all have different aesthetics, and you transfer between these at what we would call stargates, I guess. These things right here. You stand there until they're ready to launch, and then you press the jump button, and off you go. You'll transition from one sector to the other. Now, each sector, as I said, is quite different, but essentially most of them, at least, are broken down into a variety of different components. First, we have the big hubs, the space stations. These are often at the center of the sector, although not always. And then we have what we could class as highways connecting important areas of these sectors. Highways are great because they allow you to travel very fast and very safely. As you move around space generally, you'll find that it can be littered with debris, and yeah, you'll crash into this quite often. It's why I've got the oxygen venting out of my hull here. I've crashed into too many different pieces of debris, and that has caused some damage, which I'll need to repair. More on that in just a moment. But the highways I spoke about, these allow you to travel without the risk of hitting any debris. And whilst that means you may not get a direct route where you want to go, it does mean the route is going to be very safe. That said, travel does come with some inherent risks. Travel a little bit too fast or a little bit too dangerously and you'll likely get fined. Also, these corners here, as you travel around them, you don't have any traction. There's no road here, so it means you do a kind of drift. If you keep on accelerating and turn, to a certain extent your velocity will maintain the original direction, and it takes a little while for your engines to kick in and align to the new direction. So yeah, don't go too fast around corners and slow down when you want to turn. All pretty logical. Crash into the scenery or other people's property, and you'll also be fined for dangerous driving. Now, other parts of this game also pretty interesting. There is something called maintenance, and you can see on the screen right here that right now my gravity generator is pretty low. Dotted around the interior of your rig, you've got different control panels, and you can see all of these actually control different aspects of the rig, of the ship. Now, these can degrade over time. They can become damaged, in which case you'll need to repair them, or alternatively, as has happened here, they can start to run out of energy, and when they do that, you're going to need to replace the energy cell. So that's exactly what's happening here with the gravity generator. It's running out of power. That's going to need to be replaced. You can just pull the power cell out, but what I prefer to do is flip the breaker switch over here and disable the gravity generator. There it is. We'll switch that off. Now, you will have noticed there's a spare energy cell down on the floor behind me, but when the gravity is disabled, everything will start to float, including you. It makes the movement a little bit slower, a little bit more awkward, but that's not a problem as long as you're not travelling around at high speeds, because things will start to fly around inside the ship. Brake or accelerate too hard and everything will shoot around and start ricocheting off the walls. There we go, energy cell replaced. Let's switch this breaker switch back on. Gonna need to move this crate out the way. Let's put that down there. Now you can open those crates and store things inside of them as well if you're a bit more of the organised type. And there we go. Gravity back enabled and yeah, fully charged. So that's interior maintenance, but exterior maintenance is also a thing. You're going to need a spacesuit for this, and use the airlock safely. Make sure you got the spacesuit on before you go out here. You then can do a little bit of EVA. So out here on the exterior of the rig, you can see we've got a few hull breaches. These are the ones that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go and repair them. Repairing them's very simple. You just fly on over to them, and when you're within range, you'll get this UI element, and hold down the mouse button. You will then repair them. You can also see it down on the bottom of the screen. We've got a limited amount of power in our spacesuit, and we've got a limited supply of oxygen. So you don't want to remain outside here forever. You can see the energy does drain down pretty fast, especially when you're doing these repairs. Very important then to make sure that your suit is kept in its storage and that you do keep it on charge. Now, elsewhere in the game, you can find some additional depth in the form of various unlocks. These give you access to different types of jobs. So very early on, you'll look at this, you'll get some XP. These will give you points to spend. Typical scenario for these types of games, in fact, most games nowadays. But yeah, you can spend these points on a variety of different unlocks. So I've gone for fragile jobs on the right hand side of the tree, but alternatively we could have chosen the left, which gives you a time focused journeys. These ones are time limited, and if you liked things 1 o'clock, then that might be for you. On the other hand, on the opposite side, we can unlock fragile jobs. Now these are high paying jobs, but ones which have severe penalties. They really do give you big deductions any time you hit something or cause some damage to the cargo. And yeah, as there's debris flying around in space, as we mentioned early on in the video, and some of this can be pretty difficult to avoid, it's almost inevitable that you will take on at least a little bit of damage to that cargo. Now, with this being a single player game, you could perhaps be forgiven for thinking that space may be a little bit lonely. After all, space is big and vast. The interesting thing here is that all of these sectors are densely packed, and you never really feel alone when you're in space. And for some people, this may be a bit of a letdown, because if you're the type of person that loves the long distance driving in something like Elite Dangerous, then, or long distance flying, I guess it would be, not driving. But anyway, you probably will find that the busy areas may not be quite what you want. But for those of you who prefer a lot of aesthetics going on, a lot of activity around you, then this really does have a nice buzz. As you travel along the highways, you'll see other rigs travelling along with you, sometimes travelling in the opposite direction, sometimes on the same side as you. When you come to the jump nodes, you'll see rigs coming and going. These activate as other rigs approach them, and sometimes you'll see other ships coming through into your sector. All in all, this really does give the game a sense of life. On top of that, you've got the space stations that you can visit. Some of these will give you jobs, other ones you just simply drop off the trailer that you've been towing around. And in other cases, you may want to visit a different outpost to pick up various supplies. And finally, we come to something I didn't touch on earlier, perhaps should have mentioned this earlier, but that is the nature of cargo itself. How do you travel this around? How do you carry this? Well, obviously, you're a big rig, so the cargo comes in a trailer. You'll need to link up with the trailer so that you can tow it to your destination, and to do this you'll need to use the docking camera. And this can be a little bit fiddly to get used to, but once you get there it is pretty straightforward. Likewise, when you arrive at your delivery destination, you'll need to align the trailer inside one of these big nodes here, and once it's all central it will turn from purple to green, at which point you can unhitch from the trailer and leave it there and head off to your new destination. Whether that's to pick up some supplies or go and get some fuel, because yeah, you will need some fuel, this will get consumed over time, or if you just want to go and get a new job, the choice is entirely yours. The game is very much open-ended. So yeah, there we have it. A very brief look at what to expect from Star Tracker. I really feel it's one of those games that when you experience the early sections of it, you know pretty much what to expect later on in the game as well. And that's largely because the developers really have nailed down the mechanics here and refined them to the nth degree. They've made them very, very good. They do work very well. So yeah, this is a game I certainly enjoy. It's a game I'm going to be playing on and off quite regularly. Do check it out. You can find everything you need to know in the link below. So thanks for watching this video all the way through, and if you're still interested, why not check out one of the other videos linked on the screen right here. Catch you next time, and do take care.